Hi all, welcome to Konveyor community meeting. Today is April 6th and it is meeting number 15. So excited. We abide by Konveyor code of conduct, which means be nice to one another. Now that I have that, wait, let me share the agenda again so that folks can, if folks can add your name to the agenda, that would be awesome. Yeah, there we go. And I am going to kickstart this meeting. The first up on the topic is the demos. The first one is the feature custom targets. Do we have Ian on the call?
Hey, Savita. Yes, I'm here.
Yeah. Please take it away.
All right. Let me share my screen. All right. So for this feature, custom targets, the idea here is to allow users to create a subset of rules to be used across application analysis runs, rather than having to recreate your set of custom rules files that you have for an analysis each time you wish to analyze an app. Now you can create a custom target that handles that for you. So within the analysis wizard, previously we would have to go in and create a set of rule files for each analysis. So we have a new nav item on the left in the administration view called custom migration targets. And this will give you this nice grid view of the existing default targets for analysis, and gives you the option to create a new migration target. So create a new one. And this one is going to point to a repo for my rule files that I have for this demo. You could also upload the files individually here and add them to your custom target. So for the repo flow, I'll add my repository and my branch name and the path within the repository, which is rules in this case, which holds a single rule in my repository with the traditional rule file that we support with our perform and or when perform else syntax for analyzing any technologies or dependencies within our application that may be custom and don't fit within a standard target or a standard rule set. And also you can, I've already pre-set up my credentials here. This just points to my, or this just holds my Git token for authenticating against this Git repository. Create my rule file and give it a nice notification here with the take me there button that takes you down to your rule file or your custom target that holds your rule files repo. And you can also drag and drop this custom targets item here in this view, in this grid view, just to allow the custom target to be easily accessible when you're running your application analysis. So go into the analyze flow now, and I've already created an application with a source code, the application with the source code fields required for the source code analysis, and that's just pointing to the repo that I plan to analyze. Now you can see our custom target here. I'll select that and just navigate through. Normally you would have to add your rules here, and you can also now add rules from a repository here as well. But in this case, we already have our custom target, so don't need to add anything here. Just continue navigating through, and now we have an analysis kicked off. We can view our drawer view inside the analysis or inside the application inventory table, and we'll wait for our analysis to kick off and run. Hopefully, it shouldn't take too long, but cool. So there you have it. Analysis is run with our custom rule set, and that's the feature in a nutshell. Any questions? All right, thanks.
Thank you, Ian. That was a cool demo. Does anyone have any questions for Ian? All right, moving on. Next up is a demo for the changelog generated action. David or Jason, please take it away.
Yeah, so what I'm going to do is share my screen. Let's make sure I can find the right tab. So I just wanted to have this be sort of like an update of what we've been up to. I have a feeling I'm going to have to change the size of my screen. Does that make it more easy to view, or do I need to up the text size?
For me, that's pretty good right there. I don't know about others.
So I wanted to just kind of, for SIG integration, a lot of our focus the past few weeks, maybe even more than a month now, our focus has been on release engineering and specifically release automation. We've been wanting to get to a place where we could basically push a button to create a release, and that's what we've been working on. And so we're kind of closing in on that goal and wanted to share what we've been up to. So the first thing that we have is we have this release tools repo. This is where our automation for release tooling is going to live. And we introduced this new create release workflow. It's meant to be this workflow call basically means that it's a reusable workflow. And it requires some inputs like the version that we're going to use, the repo, the ref, and a token. It doesn't do anything super special except generate the changelog. So we do some checking for if this is a pre-release and verifying that it's a semantic version compatible. Like the version that we were given is actually a Semver compatible string. We find the previous tag. So the idea here is that when we cut new releases, we need to know what we're comparing it against. So we need to go back into our history and find the closest tag. And if we are not on, like if we're cutting a official release, then our comparison should be against a previous legitimate release, not like pre-release, not alpha releases, so that our changelogs will be more meaningful. And the main bulk of what we're doing here is this changelog generation. Once we know what the previous tag is, it's really pretty simple to decide what the changes are. We basically get all of the commits and we filter out based on the string that we're putting in the beginning to mark what kind of PR it is. And we're showing those. So our breaking changes, our feature changes, and bug fixes. A to-do that we have is to decide if we want to be able to show more, but that's it. So we create the release, and one thing that we're doing is we're saying if this is a .0 release, so let's just say in the future of v0.1.0, then we go ahead and we create the release branch and push that so it just exists without anyone having to go through the trouble of doing that. So what this reusable workflow allows us to do, I'm going to switch tabs now. What it allows us to do is, this is our workflow in Tackle2 operator. So in Tackle2 operator, what we have is a bunch of components that are essential for a release of Konveyor. And we say, okay, create a release in each of those repositories. Once that is complete, once we create a release in each of those, Then what we're going to do is wait for those released images to exist. And then now we know at the end of this stage, we know that each of the projects has been released and images exist for them. The next step that we have after this, so this is an example of us running it, and just to so here's an example of us running our create release workflow. It runs to completion, and then at the end, what you'll see here's a release of the tackle operator. So here's our first V01 alpha 1 that we used to test and show what we were doing. So now we're able to generate the releases, and we're able to fill them with change logs. We're able to automatically, based on the version specified, determine if it's a pre-release or if it's an official release. And what's next for us is, now that we're able to identify all the images are ready, we're going to merge the create release workflow with the workflow Jason had worked on and demoed in a previous community meeting about publishing to community operators. We're going to merge those two workflows into one. And so we should, at the end of this, be able to push a button, say release V010 alpha 2, and it go all the way to submission to community operators. But that's what we've been working on. Just wanted people to be aware and for it to not be magic. That's all I have.
David, thank you. This is really cool to see. And thank you, Jason.
Thank you, David and Jason. Do we have any questions on this? Okay, if not, I am going to reshare my screen and move on to the next section. Right, next up is some discussion items. The first one, I agree with John on that it's going to make the life easier on the release part. Thank you again. So the next up is, I just have an announcement. So in 2 weeks, we have KubeCon, and Konveyor has a kiosk in the Project Pavilion. So I will be there, Ramon will be there, and we have a few other folks who will be there. So if you want to learn more about the project, if you have friends, if you have some colleagues who are going to KubeCon and they want to know more about Konveyor, please ask them to stop by kiosk number 25. Or if you want to reach out to me, I'm available on Kubernetes Slack, so you can always Slack me. So that is just a mini update that I wanted to tell all of you. And the next up is, so do you all have any questions on that? All right, moving on to the next one, it's from John.
I just wanted to share my screen for a minute or two and let folks know about some new docs that came in. Cool. So I added 2 things in upstream. One is about the migration experience user group that Ramon is starting to put together. So this is starting to flesh out some of the pieces of how we can organize this. So we have docs here that kind of, first of all, just talk about what is this. The whole point of the migration experience user group is to bring other folks in the community that are currently doing modernization engagements. They're learning about problems, learning about edge cases, issues, all that. We want to crowdsource all that information, bring it back into the community so we can translate that into rules. The whole pattern of what we're doing, we're building a nice tool that can help out folks that are doing modernization engagements. The tool is only useful if the rules handle those issues that everybody needs. So it's trying to address that problem of that we can build a great tool. The tool's not going to deliver the value we want unless we have good rules that match it. And we're trying to find a way in the community to crowdsource this ability of getting those rules in. And that's what this user group is for. So with this, we created a upstream email groups. We can organize, get people together later, start doing more focused meetings. For right now, there is also another repo that I created for rule set repo. so we can start to capture issues and RFEs. The goal that we want to get to is reduce the friction the most we can for everybody in the community. We don't want to force people to understand the syntax of our rules, even to understand Konveyor. If folks are willing just to open up an issue and just describe a problem they had, that is perfect. That's enough for us. We're trying to tap into that knowledge, get it into issues, and then the development team can codify that into rules. Of course, community can always put in rules too, but we're trying to do as much as we can to limit that friction. I also listed a few areas of interest that we want to get into as we start expanding the rules here. So with this, we have this new repo. This is this rule set repo. Right now, the repo is empty, just in documentation. Over probably maybe the next month or two, I think we'll start fleshing it out with new rule sets that are for the new analyzer we're building based on the LSP approach. And there's some more background info in this repo, just talking about some of the problem domains similar to the user group one, and then a little bit more info about the whole background of how we are moving to this multi-language analyzer based on LSPs. So I just want to let folks know this exists. If there's any questions, happy to answer them now. Otherwise, that's all that I have. All right, thanks, Savitha.
Thank you, John, for sharing that. Today is a very, very silent group. So anyways, we have reached the end of the agenda, and it's the last call. If you want to bring up any items for discussion, you have like 1, 2, 3. Okay. All right, everyone. So if you're going to be at KubeCon, I'll see you there. If you're not going to be there, I will see you all in a month. All right. Bye. Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, folks.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.